What's up, Jay? How you doing today?
What's up, man? Doing well, Risky. Let's get this thing started.
All right. This is Golf Nation, the show that brings you interviews with the best and brightest people in the industry. Join us for a round as we learn about their life, business, and so much more. Golf isn't just about playing the game, it's about connecting with others and getting away from our everyday lives. Now here's your host and the CEO of GolfCritique.com, Jeremy Lee.
Oh, Golf Nation, what is up? You're listening to episode 46 of the Golf Nation podcast, brought to you by GolfCritique.com, the best search engine in golf. And today we are talking instruction, and so we're going to highlight instructors on GolfCritique.com. If you are not going to GolfCritique.com and you're just trying to find an instructor, you may be looking at Google, Risky, it is so hard to find information on instructors, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you would do it other than just going to golfcritique.com and viewing their bio and everything that they want people on the internet to know. It's right there.
Absolutely. And that's what we're trying to do with golfcritique.com. We're trying to give you the most accurate information about these instructors, how they teach, what it's like to get a lesson with them, how much their rates are, what are their students saying about them. All of this can be found right on golfcritique.com. So make sure you go there. And again, just like golf courses, there's no booking fees. We're connecting you directly with the instructors. You're going to be able to email them directly. And if you like them, if it feels like somebody that you would get along with, somebody that kind of thinks the same way, whether you're technical, whether you're by feel, then golfcritique.com is the place to get your next instructor and get to learn this game. Risky?
Absolutely.
When's your next lesson, buddy?
It's actually on Thursday.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, Thursday I got one.
I love it.
Ready.
I love it. Our guest today is the 8th ranked golf instructor in the state of Tennessee, a 2-time Tennessee PGA Youth Player Development Award winner, and a 2-time U.S. Kids Top 50 teacher, a graduate of Mississippi State University's Golf Management Program in 2011. He started his career as an assistant golf pro at West Haven Golf Club, and after 2 years became the director of player development in 2014. He started teaching at Vanderbilt Legends Club until July of this year, where they really haven't had a professional in over a decade. It's pretty amazing. He is now continuing to grow his brand through online lessons, videos on YouTube, and helping Tennesseans become the best players they can be. You can find him right now on golfcritique.com. Please help me welcome the very talented Matt Walter to the show. Matt, what is shaking, my friend? Great to have you on the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I tell you what, that's probably the best intro I've ever had. Usually it's a lot shorter, and it's like, hey, this redneck out of Tennessee's on our show today.
Well, I tell you, I'm loving your audio because most of the time we're through iPhone. But, man, I love the stuff that you're doing with your podcast. You're doing stuff like that. We'll get into all of that. But you sound great, man. It's great to see that you're doing well over there in Tennessee. I mean, you live in Nashville. Murfreesboro, I guess.
Yeah, if I'm correct, Matt, it's about 40 minutes from Nashville.
It's a suburb of Nashville now because Nashville's growing so big. Like, it's insane how big. What's up in Nashville? You rubbing elbows with the country music stars?
Oh, dude, I tell you what, man. It's when I was at Legends for a while there, it was not uncommon to have a Titan, a Predator. You could just pick a name on a country music star you wanted. It didn't, every week. But one of the cool ones I had a guy contact me and just popped up like Jake L. I was like, all right, Jake L. I don't know, whatever. So I scheduled a lesson. Guy shows up, this towering, massive man, like 6'7", starts walking to my door. I'm like, Jake L. Who's that tall as Jake L? And then I realized it was Jake Long, the 2008 number 1 draft pick out of Michigan. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh,
nice, dude.
Now things are starting to make sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do they let you promote them? Like, be like, man, I just gave Jake Long a lesson. This is fantastic. You have to see that's where the review on Golf Critique would be great.
Right.
Like Jake Long just reviewed me. Thank you very much.
When you have like a junior golfer coming in behind a former lineman that just retired, that's still like at fighting weight, they kind of like start walking in the door and they're like, their heads at his waist. And they're like, who was that? Like, yeah, exactly.
So do you talking about tall guys like that. So what's your concept on teaching tall players? I mean, I'm a tall guy. I'm a 6'4". I always struggled. I always said that this is a short man's game. What's your thoughts on that?
I tell you what, I am a short man. I don't know if I agree with that one. I feel like
me
the tall
too.
guys have that advantage to hit it a little farther. But no, so actually, I'm a part of a group of instructors called Bioswing Dynamics. And it was actually funny. I was on Instagram this morning, and Terry Rolls, who's one of the main guys in that with Mike Adams and EA Tischler, is doing a thing with Chris Como. It airs tonight on the Golf Channel. And I was like sitting there kind of like acting like my normal golf nerd self. And just kind of listening to Como's little Instagram post. But no, so basically my thing is when I'm coaching players is I put them through a screening process. So like if you're 6'4", one of the things we look at is like, what's your wingspan to height ratio? And that dictates a lot of, where your arm plane needs to be in your backswing and things like that. So just because you're tall doesn't mean your wingspan is necessarily crazy long too. Mm-hmm. You may have a shorter wingspan in relation to your height, and that's going to affect a lot of things that we do with your golf swing. So that's kind of one of the first things I do is there's 12 total screens, but mostly like there's 4 right out of the box that if you're a new player that I look at, and then a lot of it's just, wingspan to height, your pivot type, how much can you open your hips by creating a lot of force, and then your trail arm and where that needs to go on the golf club. And off those 4 screens, if you're just, an average Joe walking off the street, we can make you a lot better really quick.
Yeah, I love that. And, my wingspan's a little bit different. So I'm 6'4", but I have a 6'8" wingspan.
Oh, wow. Man, you're a unicorn. You like that long wingspan. I love it.
So it's like, man, this is, I've always thought that it's been a huge factor on, some of my game, just couldn't really dial it in. And I always felt like a driver, I hit a 178 iron. So that's my stock 8. But when I get to the driver, I just can't get it to correlate the same type of distance I can out of my irons. And so I thought, you know what? Maybe I should go to a 43 because I have such this long wingspan, get a little bit more consistency, but I probably wouldn't lose any distance. I'd probably actually gain distance.
Yeah, and that's a very hot button thing for me right now is this driver length. You see companies coming out with how much farther and faster everybody's swinging and whatnot. And the driver lie angles haven't changed a whole lot, but the driver length has. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about 45.5-inch drivers. And I've seen some weird numbers on like TrackMan where I have a college player right now. He's a pretty good stud out of Belmont, and he'll produce like almost like perfect numbers, like 0 attack, 0 path, 0 phase, and they can't put driver on the planet. Mm-hmm. And I like sitting there the one day, and I was like, what is the deal here? Like because he'll flush a 4-iron 240 something down the middle, on a rope. And what we ended up coming back to is that the driver was just too long. We ended up getting him in a 44.5, maybe 44.25. And that was a game changer. Just going to a shorter driver, it was instantly better because he just needed that, like you were saying there with your long wingspans, another good example, just to have that ability to control the driver and give himself a little more distance from the ball because his impact location was kind of all over the face.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I did long drive for a little while, and, I was swinging a 48-inch driver, and 48-inch long drive standards, so it's 46 or so, I guess, in USGA standards. But, I could get 137 club head speed. It would go a long way, but you just have to change the loft. So, in regards to that, it's interesting to hear that you say that because I guess you've heard Bryson's bringing out the 48-inch driver at Augusta. Of all places. Yeah. I thought that was interesting, but most people who know Augusta, it is a little bit, you can spray the ball just a touch out there, and I'm sure that's probably the reason that he's doing that. But what's your thoughts on that?
Well, and I think where people are so eager to jump on this bandwagon of like, is he hitting it too far? Or is this the next phase of golf? And I think that's easily overlooked is how, outside of the wing foot where he hit 23 fairways, he's hitting it pretty stinking accurately for hitting it 370, 360 in the air. To hit it that far, that straight, that is almost unheard of because you're talking long drive distances and they're trying to put 1 out of 10 on the grid, as you know, and he's trying to get 10 out of 10 on the grid.
Right.
It's another animal to hit that far, that straight. And I think people are kind of taking that away from him a little bit. And obviously wing foot, there wasn't anybody hitting a lot of fairways that week, but he's taken, I think, an element of the game and is maximizing it to his potential. And what was funny about this whole thing is I wouldn't say I was in an argument, but me and another coach were kind of going back and forth at a meeting one day about whether it's better to be in the fairway 50 yards farther back or out of the rough 150 yards farther forward, because there was a stat thrown out there, the average proximity to the hole from out of the rough from 100 yards out versus the fairway from 150 out. I looked at him, I said, I'll go as many holes as you want from 100 yards, and you play it from 150, and I'll smoke you. I promise.
Yeah.
Like, you can't give me that many chances from 100 yards away hitting a lob wedge, sand wedge versus having to hit 9-iron or 8-iron. It's just not even the same.
Yeah.
And then, it's just that's where the golf's going right now. And I think wing foot was a great example of why we don't need to stretch the game out or make the ball restricted flighted or whatever. I mean, Bryson hit 23 fairways and was the only player under par at the U.S. Open.
I know.
I mean, it's kind of like, if you don't want these guys to go crazy low, do what Wingfoot did. You grow the rough up, penalize them like crazy around the off the rough, and that was enough to keep these guys at bay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Ernie Els has been pushing that for a while, saying, listen, we don't necessarily have to put out 8,000 yard golf courses. We need to be putting in tighter fairways, higher rough. And that's truly what's going to bring the whole field together. I think, Risky, we've talked about this before. Like, if we want more guys in the mix, we've got to start doing something, because it's just the same people every week. It's usually the long guys. The short hitters are just going to go away.
Yeah, Matt Fitzpatrick, I think, was actually like quoted out getting kind of feisty about that stuff with how far Bryson's hitting it and calling it a disgrace or something like that. But honestly, like, kudos to him. And Bryson found a way to unlock something that nobody has. And so, in my opinion, the way I look at it as a teacher who's trying to grow the game and get more people into the game and enjoying the game, it's like, people, there's a reason why people watch the PGA Tour over the LPGA Tour, and it's because how far these guys hit it, right? I mean, if it was truly about hitting fairways, greens, and shooting something under par, there'd be, I think, a pretty more even showing on both of the tours. But you can go to a PGA Tour event and watch a guy hit it 350. I mean, you're not going to see that on the driving range every Saturday afternoon here at Indian Hills. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. And and you got like my golf course I'm at now, you can't hit driver on every hole out here. Like, it's just not feasible between out of bounds, dog legs, narrow fairways, just, houses in some cases. And so, you have golf courses that can protect it. And I think that's where you have to go, because if you start restricting the flight on golf balls and make the driver smaller again, club companies, I don't know how they're going to afford that, plus be able to make a product out to the average consumer too, right? You got that to consider. So I think the easier option, I think groundskeepers will like it too, is don't cut the rough for 6 weeks leading up to an event.
Sure. No, and I agree. And the problem that I have with Fitzpatrick's comments was like, listen, Jamie Sadlowski on the long drive is like his same size. So like, if you don't want to take the risk to compete with them, don't complain. Like, if you want to go in the gym, you want to get a longer driver, if you want to get more distance, let's not kid ourselves. It's possible. You just don't want to mess up your game to get there. So listen, if you're not willing to evolve, well, too damn bad. Like, the game's evolving. And I'm telling you, if Bryson does this, I've been saying this for a long time, I'm shocked that he's the first, because the long drive guys have been hitting 400 yards for a while now.
And thanks to Jason Zubak leading that charge.
Exactly. And I think even with Sadlowski, he was so talented, but he was such a small player that I'm surprised that it didn't open up some of those small guys on tour being like, listen, I can get after it on my driver. I can go a little bit longer. I can learn how to hit it more accurate. And then I got it. Then I'm competing with the big boys on tour. So it is surprising to me, but it's going to be, I'm telling you, Bryson's going to hit some 400-yard drives at Augusta.
And truthfully, I'm not that shocked that this is showing up now, because like, I got 13, 14-year-olds that can move it at 110 plus. And I mean, like, at 13, like, it's insane. Like, I'm doing everything I can to hit it past them. And so I think the other side of it too is like, every tour, as you go down a notch, right? So if you go from like PGA Tour down to like Korn Ferry, down to college, down to high school, like, it's just faster. The reason why PGA Tour average is low is because you still got, short knockers out there, keeping their card in their 40s until they can kick over to the Champions Tour. But, it's averaging is going to start pushing up. And I think in the next 5 years, I think it wouldn't be surprising to me to see the tour average be 120.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, are you looking at the average scores on tour right now? Like, their scoring average is like 65.
It's nuts.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. I mean, back in our day, it was 68, 60, maybe 67. But now, like, the leaders are at 65 point something, I think. It's insanely low how good. We're going to see regular 59s as we continue to grow.
You think so?
Oh, no question about it.
How
Look how
far
many
in the
we've
future?
seen. I mean, we saw one for 25, 30 years, and now we've seen like 10.
Yeah.
Every year almost now.
Yeah.
Easily. And then there's like a 57, I think, was carded not long ago.
Yeah, Furyk,
like some
wasn't
mini
it?
tour event.
Oh, no, yeah, the mini tour. And then Furyk shot 58. It's just, it's going to be stupid. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Dustin Johnson, that tournament a couple weeks back, he could have shot 55.
Yeah.
30 under was
That is insane.
like crazy.
Insane. So it's going to be interesting to see how Bryson changes the game. I think he will. I actually think people give him a hard time. I know there's a lot of haters out there say he's going to be done in 2 years. He's destroying his body. I don't know. He's a smart dude. So we're going to see what happens. I mean, he's got to be careful. I don't disagree with that. But his swing is so compact.
Yeah, I mean, with that, we talked about on that episode with Lisbeth, like he has the recovery.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just going out there and torturing his body like this and not doing any recovery. He's got the whole plan to keep it going.
He's got a great group of coaches behind him too. Like Como is one of the smartest guys like out there when it comes to the body, and the people that he's surrounded himself with in that group, that he's training with. People are saying he's going to be out in 2 years because of injury. I just don't believe it.
No, but it is surprising that he's trying to get even bigger. I mean, he's pretty big. I mean,
he's thick.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to cut some of that fat though. Like I think he's not like chiseled. He's getting.
Well, I think it goes to like what
husky.
What's important in golf. You know what I mean? Like if you look at how a sprinter and a marathon runner train, right? I mean, they're very different body makeups. You know what I mean? So like the sprinter's a lot more stocky, bigger legs, bigger torso, just thicker person as a runner, versus your marathon runners are just literally looks like there's like a hamstring and a quad attached to a muscle, a bone.
Exactly.
And so if you think about golfers, we're kind of more in that sprinting category because we're trying to create a burst of speed in less than a second, right? So we're not really needing to train much as a marathoner where we need long endurance. Yeah, we walk 4 or 5 miles, but okay, we're walking 4 or 5 miles. It's really that burst to 120 something miles an hour clubhead speed that you're trying to create. So I think the body type that you're seeing out of Bryson's probably more that built towards that sprinter like body makeup.
I would say that. I mean,
I agree.
And I think his swing is so unique anyway. He stays in his triangle for probably longer than anybody on tour, I think. And so he's not, I don't feel personally that he uses a lot of hips. I mean, he's using hips obviously, but he's got a lot of upper body in that golf swing.
Well, and I've said that too because people have asked me about I want to be taught that Bryson swing or what about one plane and things like that. And I said the thing that's unique about Bryson is that Bryson's probably one of, if not a very few number of people that can swing like that and hit it as far as he can because of like you said, because of the upper body. He's got long arms, he's got a big torso, big shoulders. I mean, he's just built. And he's trained it for so long that it works for him. But even he'll say, like, I was the straightest person on the driving range every week, but I wasn't necessarily the farthest. And I've said it years ago. I'm like, if he wants to hit it farther, he's going to have to do something different to gain speed. He's not going to want to change his swing. I think that's where you see like that Jordan Spieth model, that kind of catastrophes happened in the last 5 years,
right?
Where he's tried to chase some distance and change the swing because of it. And I remember watching Jordan Spieth hit that like toe shot on 16 at Augusta, and I thought he dang near missed the golf ball.
It's been insane to watch that downfall, and I don't know if he'll get it back, honestly.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
I think Jordan's a competitor. I think the big thing that he's going to have to find, in my opinion, Jordan Spieth is that he's got to find what got him to where he was. Right, everybody talks about his putting, but really what he led was the long iron approach game was something that he dominated in that same stretch while he was putting lights out. But everybody kind of knows, putting is one of those things that you can be a really great putter and have some off weeks. So I think Jordan right now is just, I think Jordan just got to find, he's just got to find something that, like go back, look at old video from that stretch in like 15. What were you doing? Rebuild that swing back, and you may not hit it the farthest, but I mean, look at the Jim Furyk model and the Matt Kuchar model. Like,
I know.
You're pretty darn good. Look at career, and you might snag a couple more majors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Furyk, he's top 10 machine. I mean, he may not win every week, but I'll take his. Hey, I'll trade his bank account for some single-time winners on the PGA Tour. No question about it.
And I've talked to people that have helped Kuchar along the way, and Kuchar's got an extra 10 to 12 in the bank of miles per hour club head speed that he just doesn't use. But at the same time, those guys are saying, hey, top 40 in the world, got a pretty hefty bank account, makes cuts every week.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to tell the guy no.
I know, right? Yeah, and even on taller players, I've been saying this for a while. I think the hips are less important. I think you're coming from such a high angle of attack that you just don't. The more you get your hips into it, the more you fight the rights. The more you fight the pushes, you get ahead of it so much.
Typically, the taller players have a lot more of a gliding pattern and are typically more, using a lateral force and using a lot more vertical force than your rotational, because you're right, especially if you have a long wingspan like yours, where you're going to have a more vertical left arm anyways. Yeah, you'll see a lot more of a glide than you will see in the rotational pattern.
No doubt about that. Whew, man, I get ahead of that ball so much. It's driving me nuts. And so, talk about, I want to talk about that because I think a lot of people from an amateur standpoint, and I want to get your opinion on this. This is my opinion. But from an amateur standpoint, we always say putting. And I do agree with that on the PGA Tour. Everybody is such good ball strikers on the PGA Tour. You don't get to the PGA Tour without being a good ball striker. And I do think that the difference is made on the putting. But me personally, for anybody who's an amateur that's not at that type of level, I think getting off the tee is the most important. Because if you're hitting out of bounds, or if you're hitting you're hitting 20 yards off the tee, or you're in the woods, it doesn't matter how good you putt. You got 5 strokes before you even get to the damn green.
Yeah.
So I think if you really want to become a better player, you've got to learn how to hit a driver. You've got to learn how to get yourself in play off the tee. And to me, that's the most important thing as an amateur golfer. What's your thoughts on that, Matt?
Oh, 100%. And I think, so I have a big 3 that I keep for anybody that wants to keep it I say sub 85, but truly, if you want to keep it like sub 90, right? So one is exactly what you just said. The first rule, the most important one, that's why it makes it number 1, is you got to get it off the tee where you're not obstructed to advance your second shot, right? Or even if on a par 5, you can't hit your second shot of a 3-wood topped hybrid to where you can't get your third shot on the green. So I don't really care if you're in the rough or even in a fairway bunker. It's more like, can you not hit your second shot on a par 4 onto the putting surface? So topping a driver would count. Hitting it behind a tree, hitting it in somebody's backyard, out of bounds, right, in the pond. But even if you're in a hazard, or even if you're in the trees, kind of, if you can still get a shot where you don't have to do anything fancy and you can still hit a casual 7-iron onto the green or whatever, then you're good. Then the second rule is you got to get your first wedge shot on the putting surface, right? So I don't care if it's a pitching wedge from 130 or a chip shot from 30 yards out because you almost drove the green. That first wedge shot has to get on the green. And then the subset to the second rule is like, if you're outside of 50 yards, get it inside of 20 feet. If you're inside of 50 yards, get it inside of 9 feet, right? And that's kind of more of like, it's not as important to break 85, but more if you're trying to break 80, right? You should be getting those wedge shots dialed up to proximity to the hole. And then purely just no 3-putts is the last rule, right? Nice. So I don't care,
Love it.
How many putts you make. It's just don't 3-putt.
So focus on speed on putting. Angle is not always. Speed is the most important, in my opinion, on putting anyway. So
definitely outside of 10 feet. Yeah. I mean, and the way I tell it to like amateurs is like, look, if I put you 6 feet from the hole and you missed it 2 feet right, would you be pissed off? And they go, yeah, I'm sure. Right. You're not going to like flub a putt from 6 feet. You could kick it in from 6 feet. Right. But if I put you 45 feet from the hole and you end up 2 feet right, are you going to be pissed off? You're going to be, no, we tap dancing around the green. I'm like, exactly. Right. Because you just put it within 0.5% of the distance you just putted it from. That's pretty good. So, I think it's the farther out you get, obviously just being on the right side of the hole when you start the line is important, but then pacing is the biggest thing that is us as a human, variably wise, will screw up. Line, you can push it or pull it a little bit. As long as you pull it or push it in the right direction, not a huge mistake. But if you like pull a 6-footer 2 feet right or 2 feet left, everybody in your group's going to be laughing at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, we're definitely calling you out on that. Nice line there, buddy.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice read.
Where were you even looking, honestly?
Yeah, and it was funny. I heard Jack Nicklaus say one time. He said, "I rarely went after the flag. Went directly after the flag." And I think that's a big mistake that amateur players make. They're always attacking flags, and so they're short inside themselves all the time. I'm telling you, 18 greens, 18 center of the greens, you're gonna beat your score by 10 shots.
Well, and I think that stems from like a driving range mentality, right? So what do we do when we go on driving range? You pick a flag, hopefully, and you swing at a flag, and you're trying to swing at a flag, swing at a flag, swing at a flag, and you're trying to hit it straight, and not all of them go straight. But yet you get on the golf course, you see that flag again, and it's kind of like that Pavlov's conditioning, right? You see a flag, so that's what I'm supposed to do, aim at flag stick. And this is where my argument for rangefinders is kind of like squashed some of our thinking of how we play the game, right? Because what's the first thing everybody does? Hop out of the cart. What's it to the pin? 173. And then that's all the research they do. They don't look at where the hole's cut. They don't look at where the trouble is around the hole. They don't look at where the short-sided miss is, where the fat side miss is, right? So what I tell a lot of my players is like, you know, when you go at the range to practice, that's one thing. Yeah, you're trying to hit it straight or you're trying to make your changes. That's one avenue. When you warm it up on the range to play, what you're trying to do is you're trying to, I call it doping your scope, basically, right? So if I hit 37 irons to warm up, which would be unrealistic for me. If you hit 37 irons to warm up and you hit an average group 5 yards left, let's say now all of them go 5 yards left, some go 15 yards left, some goes a little to the right of the pin, but on average, your group's 5 yards left. And this is some decade stuff, which I'm sure you've heard of from Scott Fawcett. You know, you shouldn't be aiming at the flag. You should be already adjusting your scope, you know, 2 flag sticks over, basically. And so now you have a start line that you're aiming for and an ending line you're anticipating for. And so if you can, you know, kind of hedge your bet, if you will, excluding outliers, but within a reasonable dispersion of the bell curve, you're going to be about 5-ish yards offline to the left. And you can anticipate that and play for it. You're not necessarily aiming 5 yards right of the pin, trying to hit it 5 yards left. You're aiming 5 yards right of the pin, trying to hit it 5 yards right of the pin, knowing you're gonna curve it a little left.
Right.
And so that helps a lot of that, like you were saying, you know, staying away from the flag sticks. And I think Fawcett put out in one of the educations I was around watching him, he said something about like when Tiger, I want to say it was from like 2000, 2008, and that like kind of stretch he had, 80% of his shots ended up on the fat part of the green, right? Or the fat side of the flag stick. So it wasn't on accident Tiger was, you know, dominating. When you're not having to be short-sided 20% of the time,
helps.
You know, so be it. And then he also has a glorious highlight reel of short-sided shots that he's like absolutely executed that no other human being on the planet could do. So there's that in your pocket.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I still say the 6-iron out of the bunker over the pond in that Canadian event was the best shot I've ever seen in golf. To a flag that was maybe 2 paces on, and he puts it like 6 feet, 7 feet.
Crazy.
Oh, stones it. I mean, there needs, I'm sure there's out there on YouTube. Like if I could find the highlight reel of all those, like that 4-iron at the Ryder Cup where he has like the epic club twirl where you start stepping it off, and you got that 6-iron, you got the flop shot at Memorial, you got the duffed one followed up by the hole out. I mean, the chip in on 16. I mean, just doing that. I was having a repeat on the TV out here, just on a stream. Just watch this. This is what you need to see.
And how about that hole in one that he had on 16 at the Waste Management that one year?
Oh, that was 97 or 98. Right? He was just turned pro.
The crowd roar. I mean, he was so pumped up.
Yeah.
Tiger had a great night that night.
Oh, I'm sure.
I guarantee it. Well, let's talk a little bit of business of golf. I really want to get into your business. You know, you're growing a business in teaching, which is not easy in normal years. It helps that golf is booming right now, I got to imagine. But let's talk about a little bit of growing your academy during COVID. You know, how's it affected you? You know, what are you trying to accomplish, and who are you trying to reach?
You know, it's funny, man, because to back it up, when COVID first hit, right, and the government shut down for the first time and everybody was still kind of on the panic button, I had 30 hours of lessons scheduled from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I taught 3. And so in my head, I was just like, man, this shutdown better not last very
Freak
long.
out mode.
I'm like, I got 2 kids, I got bills to pay. This is not good.
Right.
And so, so for about 2 weeks after that, of like just kind of like one every so often, just the kind of the brave ones that, decided to show up either way, they were still playing. And then after about 2 or 3 weeks, things kind of like cycled back to its normal pattern. And then I was a genius and decided to hit the eject button from where I was at to jump, 30 miles down the road to a different golf course in my hometown where I live. And so, then I was like, all right, well, what better time to jump ship than during a pandemic? That makes a lot of sense. So, but basically, one of the things I did was when I left West Haven and went to Legends, I had a personal conflict with my coaching model, right? And it was kind of like kids would sign up for camps, and this is kind of like the junior golf model a little bit. They would sign up for camps, but I wasn't getting the kids to show up in between that weren't already into it. You know what I mean? Like the kids are already competing, already playing. They were already in it. They showed up one way or the other, either way. It was the kids that liked the game, weren't sure if they wanted to compete and all that. And they weren't really connecting. So I was like, I'm going to come up with a better system when I moved to Legends. Cause I was like, what the heck, I'm at a new place. I got a new chance to kind of rebrand, redo some models. So I started doing a monthly approach, and that was the best thing I could have done. That as an instructor and as a parent, with a junior golfer is going to be way cheaper than paying me for 8 hours of lessons a month. That's just not realistic. But then for me, I was able to get, more kids involved. So I was having 15 to 20 kids in this monthly program at $300, $400 a month. So you do simple math as a coach, that's pretty good. And then I teach all my other one-offers, and it's a good month during the season. So, but for the parents, $300 and 7 hours of lessons is like less than half of my rate. So they were all over this,
right?
Lining up, knocking the door down. And we would have weekly practices where we focused on 100 yards and in, because the 2 hours of private lessons we did, whether they did it in 4 30-minute lessons, so they did it every week or every other week on the hour, was mostly full swing stuff. So I knew we were going to do full swing stuff in the lessons. That's what everybody shows up for, right?
Right.
But then the practices, we focused on 100 and in, and then the top package for the extra $100 for a $400 a month plan, we're playing 9 holes, and I would have 2 or 3 kids play 9 holes. We'd play matches. I would mess with them, on the golf course, putting them in weird situations, doing all kinds of fun stuff on the track. So then I got to watch them play 9 and kind of see, what's your decision-making process? What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? Should you really be trying to attack that flag stick, that's tucked behind the creek over there in the back corner of the, of the green on the par 3, that's 175, and you're hitting hybrid? Is that really a smart idea? Right. And so going through that process. And so now that I'm at my new facility, I've been at private facilities the last 2 rotations I've been at with West Haven and Vanderbilt Legends. And then now at Indian Hills, I'm at a public facility. I'm having to kind of rejog the model a little bit, because, even those prices might be a little high. And so, but the cool part for me now is what I plan on doing going forward is including Operation 36 with those guys over there, where they have
North Carolina boys,
the app. Yeah. We have the app and the benchmarking and the milestones and doing stuff like that. And so for me, the big reason why I left Legends, because, and I don't want to sound, braggadocious about this or anything, but I was selling out 2 weeks that I had kept my calendar online. It was selling out with no problem. I was full up. When I announced I was leaving Legends to come to Murfreesboro, I sold out the entire month of June before I left.
Wow.
So it wasn't so much I was trying to leave to find a better business model. It was like, I knew Murfreesboro didn't have what I can provide. So I was like, This is an opportunity. It might just have to take a hit for a year just to build it up, but this is an opportunity. But the plan for me was like, I think I can build a culture at this facility that I wasn't going to be able to do at Legends, where we had 7 pros all doing their own thing, and everybody's kind of running around like the chicken with their head cut off. Here, I've already got, a young man who's working in the golf shop who's just passed his PAT, trying to get his book work in so he can start the PJ process. He's like shadowing me every day, watching lessons. And the goal for me is to create this culture here at Indian Hills that is going to allow us to be like, if you want your kid to get into the game, whether they're brand new, competing, an elite competitor, it doesn't matter. What I'm producing here is something you want your kids to be a part of. That's what really drove me to Indian Hills. And I think, again, I've only been here for pushing almost 4 months here in a couple of weeks. And I'm already excited. I'm literally the best owner in the world. I'm not saying that so because I know he's not probably going to listen to this, but I'm saying it because he's literally just giving me the keys to the kingdom and said, look, the deal's not for me. The deal's for you. And I've only heard good things about what you can produce, and so I'm just going to stand down out of the way and you just tell me what you need. And so like literally anytime I come up with an idea, I'm like, Jim, what do you think? He's like, go. I was like, that's what you want out of an owner.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think I love single owner courses where you just have one guy, and because convincing one guy how important instruction is at a facility, I just think it's just one of the most important things that you could have at a facility. Like if you're a golf course out there and you don't have instruction, I think it's silly because people who play more golf are playing more golf because they take lessons. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I showed up at the right time for the facility too. The facility has finally just gotten back to a positive, cash flow on the books, and this year was their first year at trying to create a focus on experience at the facility, right? And so what to your point, like what better experience can you provide to a facility than bringing on a teaching professional that's going to produce programs. And like obviously I'm known more for the kid stuff, but I teach a lot of adults. It's half my business is teaching adults, but once you teach a couple of kids that win something, that's what you're known for.
Oh yeah.
But
that's the key.
We did look, it pays the bills.
Yep.
But like the women's clinic we did here, right? So I had every pro's done this one, right? You're the new assistant. What do you get thrown? You get thrown the Tuesday lady women's group, and you got to teach a women's clinic, right? But I killed it. I loved it. I love teaching the ladies. They're fun, and it's engaging for me because it's fresh. Because for them, just making contact's a field day, and having to deal with a bunch of junior golfers that think they have to hit every shot perfect for 8 hours a day. It's kind of refreshing to watch somebody stripe one for the first time and get like a huge grin on their face. Yeah. It's almost more enjoying.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know I could hit it that far.
But what is every women's clinic at, right? It's a Tuesday morning. It's probably like 9:30 after they just dropped off their kids. It's hot as crap, and their kids were probably jerks in the carpool line at school, right?
Yeah.
So you're catching them right then after that. Like that's not fun. So for me, what I did, since now again I've had like this just free reign, I was like, here's what we're gonna do. I called it a truly fun women's clinic. I gave them a bunch of truly hard seltzers because that's what all the women are drinking these days in the neighborhood.
And the guys.
Right?
Right. I love me some seltzers.
And I had music in the background playing under the tent. We had half of them going on the golf course, half of them taking instruction. We split them up. And like we were about halfway through, and I kind of looked at them and was like, hey, I think we're going to have enough, time. If y'all want to do this again for 5 more weeks, we can do it again for 5 more weeks. And she goes, oh, I thought we were doing this for 5 more weeks anyways. I didn't think this was going to stop in 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, well, just blocked off the rest of my Tuesday nights.
Awesome.
And so, and it was a killer, man. We sold it out. It was sold out from day one. We actually had too many a couple times where I had to have help. I mean, it was just a simple concept of like, instead of doing it your normal time when you as a pro is kind of like a dead time and it's an opportunity for you to kind of like stay busy and not necessarily stay after work or whatever. For me, I was like, I just know my wife having to deal with my kids in the morning is not feeling a golf clinic at 9:30. Mm-hmm. She's probably feeling having a couple of drinks and talking with her friends at 5:30. Hell, my wife did the clinic one time, and she was a college golfer. She came out one night with a couple of her friends, and they had a blast, right? And then that stemmed to like them going to play on a Wednesday night, whatever. And so, just being creative and having that kind of like, outside the box thinking is where I kind of like, I feel like I do a little bit better than some of the others. Is just like, I don't want to stay in the traditional mold. Like if you don't want to wear, obviously I'm at a place now where it doesn't really matter. I've seen guys show up in cowboy hats, overalls, and boots on the first tee.
Love it.
That was
no hoodies. Great. No hoodies at this club. No, we just wear overalls.
But overalls are fine.
But so I've never really been like the stickler on clothes anyways. Like when we trained inside at Legends and kids were showing up in gym shorts, parents were like kind of like freaked out, like, hey, we didn't have a chance to get like their the golf clothes. I was like, look, we're inside, the doors are shut, who cares?
Right.
I got music going anyways. It's just like the more inviting the experience is to golf, the more people are going to want to play it.
Yeah,
and the more you kind of grill people at these like dress codes. Like I saw on Instagram, I think some guy got kicked off a golf course for wearing black socks or something crazy.
Oh,
like,
I saw that. I was like, I wear black socks all the time, no show socks. Like, who? Yeah. What are you gonna wear? White ones? That's even worse.
Yeah, honestly, it is worse.
Let me get my dress socks on and see if those pass. It's so stupid. I get so aggravated with that kind of stuff. I'm like, this is why only 10% of the population play this game, because sometimes we have clubs that are so stuck up that they think that this is, we're at a cocktail dinner or something to go play and have fun. Like, it makes no sense to me.
And to me, it's a barrier to entry, right? I mean,
No
it's just
question.
it's another stopping point for the game. And I think that, the harder you push onto that, the harder it's kind of like, I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to show. That's why Topgolf, in my opinion, Topgolf is huge because ain't nobody care.
I know.
You show up, you
have
drink,
fun,
you eat, and you play golf for an hour, but you're there for 4 hours because you're drinking most of the time or
right,
eating, hanging out with your friends. And it's a huge success. And so, like, it's funny, the way we, consider golfers has changed over the years, and we've made it easier to count you as a golfer, which I think the last time I heard is like, if you play a round of golf, you're a golfer. But to me, it's like, at what point do we start counting what Topgolf is doing into some of these statistics? Because, I mean, they are a factory. Like the one here in Nashville, you can't get in.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
It's phenomenal.
My wife,
I love what Topgolf is doing. They are, I mean, they're bringing more beginners to the game than any other program in the country, maybe in the world.
And the guy that's up at Topgolf now, I mean, we're trying to coordinate some times for him to come down and shadow me this winter and, watch how I'm teaching the guy that's running the instructional programs at Topgolf here in Nashville. Him and I have been talking a little bit, and so that's probably going to happen here soon. But, I mean, my wife and I she was trying to surprise me with a 30th birthday party out there at Topgolf, and the extent to which she had to go to get this thing set up, I mean, it is no joke. And it's like, this, they line it up and knock you out. And they killed it. We had a blast.
Oh, yeah, much fun.
To me, playing the games against some of my hacker buddies isn't so much of the fun for me. It was just hanging out. I was playing club left-handed, whatever, but I think that's just part of that tip of that spear that's starting to, you got Drive Shack coming up out of this now. They're trying to be the competitor to Topgolf, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's where it's going.
Yeah, and it's going to be fine. I mean, there's so many places in the world that they could put this. So, I mean, Topgolf is growing like crazy, but yeah, I mean, they're going to have competitors out there and it's not even going to touch their business. It's just so
and then
big.
To the opposite side of that, right? I'm a part of where there's a guy trying to start up he's calling it the Golf Sanctuary, where it's in Brentwood. That is, I think it's going to be 4 or 5 TrackMan simulators, where it's going to be like a not necessarily a country club, but it's going to be a membership based, studio where people are going to sign up to practice, entertain clients, and that's going to be catering more towards your, seasoned golfer, if you will, or business golfer, whatever, right? And then I'm coming in as like a player development kind of coach that's going to like say, all right, if you're the guy that's signing up for this golf sanctuary because you want to use TrackMan to practice and to work on your game, then I'm the guy that you're going to be in touch with to like figure out a practice plan. Right. And, utilize TrackMan to your advantage. So this golf sanctuary thing is going to be, I think, like I thought about doing it a few years back, and I just never really had the stones to get it off the ground because of the dineros you'd have to raise to do it. Right. And this guy's taking the bull by the horns and getting off the ground. I'm pumped for him.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what we have with Smart Golf. So Smart Golf's one of our partners up in Chicago, and that's exactly what they have. They have 5 simulators. They have a gym in there. They have all the putting technology that you're going to do.
I'll tell you, Brentwood is definitely a great place for that.
Oh, yeah. There won't be any problem with the
quite the
costs.
clientele. Yeah, exactly.
I love Brentwood. It is fantastic.
Yeah, it's so nice.
If for anybody that's in Tennessee and knows it, it's right there. It's going to be right there in Maryland Farms, which is like literally right off of 65, where all the major corporate businesses are located.
You're not going to be sweating in the heat. Like, it'll be very popular. There won't be no question about that.
Look behind me, dude. I got an indoor dojo. I ain't teaching outside anymore.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. For sure. Okay. Well, let's talk. Let's move on to your podcast. Let's talk a little bit about what you're trying to do with your podcast, Junior Golf Blueprint. And when did you start it? What's your goals with the podcast, and how's it going?
Yeah, so golly, when did I start? It's almost 3 years ago now. I started that podcast. That all started because I had a parent come up to me and he's a little overweight, wasn't in the best health, and it's not like he's gonna die anytime soon, hopefully. But it was kind of one of those things that came through his head. Is like, if I were to pass, I don't think my wife knows enough about this game and all the intricacies of signing up for junior tours and how it works and and coaching and just how to practice and stuff like that. He's like, I don't know if she knows what to do with my kid. And I'm just afraid that if I were to die, that he wouldn't, be able to be the golfer he could be, and the kid's pretty talented. He's going to play somewhere in college, and
Nice.
there's no question about that. I mean, he's only 14 now, but he will play somewhere. And so I was like, man, so back it up even further, I was on live radio with Virgil Herring for 2 years on a Saturday morning radio show. So I was like, man, I could easily do a podcast because I listen to Rogan's podcast and a bunch of others. I'm like, I could easily do this. This is not a problem.
Right.
So next thing you know, off the races. Now I'll say this, the first 30 or some episodes are pretty rookie because I'm good at the talking.
Hey, we feel you, brother.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I've gotten a lot better over the last few years with it. But I mean, it was what was cool was like Maurice Allen wins the World Long Drive 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, right?
Yep.
And so he made that comment at the end how he's donating the money back to the school so that kids where he grew up can get in the game. Like, man, that's awesome. So I shoot him a message on Instagram one day saying, hey, congrats. I do a show called Junior Golf Blueprint. If you want to come on and chat, let me know. It'd be awesome. I love what you're doing for the people back home. I don't know how this came to be, man, but I was sitting one night watching a movie with my wife, and my phone dings. I look at the Instagram Messenger, right, and Maurice Allen responded to your message, and I was like, holy crap. I look at my wife. I'm like, that dude just answered me.
Nice.
So I sent, and next thing I know, to like 2 a.m, me and Maurice Allen are lining up how we're going to get on the show and texting back and forth.
Wow.
Dude shows on the show next night, and we do a little over an hour talking about all that stuff. I fell on my face at the end though, because I tried to get him to do that, Ric Flair thing, and he said he wasn't doing it anymore. So I was like, oh, it's a bummer.
He was pretty famous for that. I mean, I would have kept doing it everywhere I got. Look at what it's done for Ric Flair. Like, man, whatever you can do to promote yourself, everybody will know you from it.
Yeah.
Can't hold those alligators down, man.
No kidding.
He was a big one on the show, but I've had like coaches from all over the world. I've had players from all over the world come on the show. Jason Sutton's a good friend of mine. His son actually plays at Tennessee Tech, not far down the road from me now. And, he has one called the Golf Guru. And so him and I have collaborated on some stuff at PGA show where like one night we had like 6 coaches sitting at a table. We started the podcast at midnight. So you can kind of imagine the state of mind we were all in at that point. And it went for like 2 hours. It's like 2 a.m. We're like, okay, it's time to like wrap this one up. And I don't know what kind of editing I have to do after this one. And so like, it's just been a really fun journey for me. And the way I've kind of looked at it and it's selfish in the sense that like, I get to interview the best coaches, the best players, the best, like Operation 36, Birdie Basics, all these great programs. I've interviewed people from like the AJGA, all these different junior tours, and I'm just like getting all this knowledge just dumped into me because I'm just asking the questions that I want to ask.
Right.
And so selfishly, I'm like, this is awesome. This doesn't happen. This would never have happened to me if I didn't have the podcast. But at the same time, I get to share it out to everybody else that's listening, and I just get awesome feedback from it. I get parents sending me messages all the time, like, "Hey, I listen to your show. My kids this age, we're down here in Florida, or we're over here in Texas. We're up here in Massachusetts, and they're sending me these messages about where their kids at in their game. What do you suggest? Anybody down here that can help coach my kid?" I love that podcast with, Brooke Watts from Austin. Can you connect us with her? Just stuff like that. And it's just phenomenal in that sense. And I've been very, very lucky, I think. And so the show for me, I take a break during the summer season. So I'm actually about to start getting it fired up. My brain's already churning about, who am I going to start lining up? So it's just too much to try and do all that and teach golf in the summer. So for me, it's a good winter project now where I'll start rolling through some episodes and probably keep producing it till about May-ish is when I usually kind of like go, okay, podcast has to take a back seat for a minute and then bring it back up at the end of the season. Plus, it's hard to get a coach to give up an hour during the season, you know what I mean, to talk and stuff like that. It's a lot easier to convince them in December, and I'm like, all right, you're slow too. Come on. You want to come on the show and talk to me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit easier. I mean, I think the thing that when I started the podcast back before I built golfcritique.com, it was just about building the network, really networking with people, really getting to know people, letting people know my name, where once I did come out with golfcritique.com, there would be some sort of already, not a following, but just some connections out there that people would recognize me and then they'd associate me with that. and then it kind of snowballed from there. So it's been some really, really good stuff.
It's funny though. It gets you good at interviewing and talking to people a lot too when you do it. And it's funny, like when I was on the radio with Virgil, God, I just blanked on his name. I had it. We had one guy that would come on the show, and it was literally like you. That's like, how you doing today? 15-minute segment, and now we're gonna go to commercial, and we're gonna come back and ask him one more question probably before we have to go to commercial again and cut out. And so it's funny, like when you get people on, like me, like I'm a rambler. And then you get some other people on, and you're like, I am pulling teeth to get you to talk.
Oh, yeah.
Holy cow. And it's surprising sometimes because you get some people on that you would assume are just phenomenal, talkers because of their resume of how they're coaching, right? And you get them to try and pull something out. Like you're just sitting there, like just trying to drive a nail in.
Oh my gosh! I guarantee you, me and Risky have the exact same person in our mind right at this exact moment.
Yeah, definitely.
But we won't go there. Oh, so funny. Oh, you're right though. Some of them you're like, oh, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna, and it's like, can you just please talk? Like, they're not here to see me. They're here to see you.
So without mentioning any names, right? So, another podcaster that does a golf show, reached out to me. He's like, hey, I'm gonna have so and so on the podcast. Can you give me any kind of like insights? And basically, I just went back to him and said, look, it's not gonna be what you're hoping for. I know you're thinking this is gonna be like a home run podcast. And you're going to get great feedback. People are going to love it, but you are going to have to work your tail off to get him to give you actual answers, because otherwise it's just going to be like, well, they need to buy this, and I can no.
Oh,
you're like, dude, quit selling me on your stuff. Just answer the question.
I know.
That's so funny.
That sounds like the vice president's debate. I was like, just answer the question. Just please, just answer the question that was asked. Oh my gosh, so funny. Yeah, and that's the joys of podcasting. But podcasting, it's amazing how big it's gotten. It's mainstream. It's just as important as the radio now. So we love it, and it's great stuff. So, you have a couple. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's kind of like for us as golf coaches, right? I mean, the big thing 5-10 years ago was Golf Channel. Like, get yourself on Golf Channel, and you're gonna be the guy.
Right
now, I mean, you look at like Eric Cregano, Chris Ryan, Rick Shields. I mean, look at these guys. Just
Rick Shields just killed it
on YouTube, Instagram, social media. They're directly to their client and not having to deal with the Golf Channel stuff. I mean, it's kind of like Golf Channel had that stand for a little bit. We're like, hey, you need us more than we need you when you're sitting here as a golf coach. And now it's just kind of like, no, I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dude, I would beg to guess what Rick Shields is pulling in. That kid,
I have a ballpark. So I'm not going to put out numbers, but I'll say this. He's living comfortably. So
definitely.
I mean, he's got 700,000 subscribers on YouTube right now?
I thought he hit 1 million.
Oh, did he hit 1 million now?
Yeah. He's
wow.
Like almost
that's impressive.
I think.
Hey, kudos to him, man. I got no problem with people being successful. Good for him. I know how hard it is just to do this show. All the stuff that he's doing and producing. Hey, he deserves everything he gets because it is not easy. People think that, you just get in front of a camera and all of a sudden you got 1 million. No.
Definitely not.
So funny story about that, right? So for a little bit, I was shooting videos for a website called Performance Golf Zone. And the short end of a long story is the guy that owns the company was a guy I played high school golf against. And I put out a few things on social media, and he was like, hey, I like what your stuff is. Will you shoot videos for me? So I shot a bunch of YouTube videos for him. And at the time, I was dumb. I didn't really know the difference between getting paid that day to shoot videos, which I was like, this guy's paying my daily rate to shoot some videos. Let's go. And not getting like a little bit of kickback for how the video does. That would have been a lot smarter. But anyways, so I'm shooting videos for him one day, and I think I shot like 12 or 15 in a day. I was hammering them out.
Wow.
And this video was like just a middle of the road video. It was like video 7 to 9 somewhere in the list, and we called it like how to hit it like a tour pro. I had like 3 tips, super cheesy, super dumb. None of them relate to how to hit it like a tour pro. And he texted me like 9 months later, hey dude, that video's got 1 million views on it.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Just text me,
thanks for making me money.
Yeah, text me a few months later after that, like probably almost a year. 2.5 million views now sits on that video. And that's when I started getting traffic, people coming through my door. I was like, hey, this guy's in Franklin. Now I'm in Murfreesboro, right? But there's this guy's down the road. And that's when I started to realize, like, oh shoot, like I need to get in on this.
Yeah, the power of the internet. Well, that's a good segue into your videos that you're shooting now. You can definitely catch them on Golf Hub, on golfcritique.com. You got a lot of great videos there. If you haven't been to Golf Hub, it's just basically just a compilation of a bunch of shows. So you can click on Matt's landing page, and you can see all of his different shows right there, very easily to click through. Go through some of the things that you're showing us on Golf Hub and what you're trying to accomplish there.
Yeah, so I mean, what we kind of talked about, like when COVID started, right? How that kind of like wrecked business for a little bit. So my brain doesn't do well with free time. So I was just like, I gotta figure out a way to capitalize on this. So I started shooting videos, right? And I'm very, very fortunate, and I gotta say this up front, like Zach Radford, who's an Instagram superstar and a YouTube superstar, for whatever reason decided to like me during that kind of like COVID process, where we did like a fundraiser with a bunch of other pros for, we actually had a tornado hit Nashville all the way to Cookeville, about a week before COVID shut us down, and just devastated.
Dude, I drove through that. City. That was a war zone. It was insane. It
was really bad. And so we did a fundraiser on the back of the little course tee, where every lesson we raised, we put all that money towards the fundraiser, and we think we raised like just north of like $20,000. That's awesome. And so it was awesome because my client showed up. They didn't pay me. They paid the fundraiser. It was awesome. Cool. But anyways, there him and I just got talking. He's like, "Wait, let's shoot some videos." I'm like, "All right, yeah, man, whatever. Let's do it." And like we're still shooting videos together now. And this was back in March-ish. And so I don't know why he took me under his wing, but he did. But he's offered me a lot of advice, a lot of help, getting me going where I'm going on social media. And a big reason why the channel's doing so good, at least this initial run, was because he had helped me be on his channel. And that's kind of where, if you want to do this YouTube thing, I would tell a lot of coaches, like, you standing in front of the camera is not going to get you popular. It's just not going to do it. And so you have to collab with people. And that's where I've done stuff with his brother. We do like a Breaking 90 series where, it's quite comedy because his brother's like has moments of genius and then just straight up looks like he's trying to swing like a horseshoe instead of a golf club. And, and so, and things like that make it go a lot faster for you because, and you know this too, like there's thousands of videos of some dude standing on front of a camera. But part of what my goal is this winter is to take on a few people that I have in mind and create like a journey for them. Like Andrew's journey has been breaking 90, and we're about to figure out a day to go out and we're going to test that water here soon to see what he does. But then I got somebody else in mind for breaking 85. I got somebody else in mind for breaking 70, and kind of creating a journey. And people buy into that a lot more because every video I've done where it's on that process is like 4 to 5 times better than any tip video I put out. Always. Yeah. So that's kind of what my YouTube process is there. And then for me, it's just another way to create, not necessarily free marketing, but it's just another way that's always there for people to see who I am, how I talk, how do I interact. Obviously the stuff with Andrew, I'm busting his chops left and right. So, and that's kind of how I coach too. I mean, I'm, pretty free spirited in that sense where I'm like, I don't care how much money you got in the bank. Like I got a guy that, we can't count the decimal places behind the zeros he's got. And, and then the other guys that just, want to just pay me for the hour was, enough for them for like the next 6 months. Right. So I don't care how wealthy you are, how, popular or anything like that. I want to treat you the exact same. And I want to dog you when you need to be dogged. I want to reward you when you need to be rewarded. And it's a good time. And I'm going to give it to you straight. Like, hey, look, that was a good effort. Here's what we got to do a little bit better. Here's what you did well. Let's, focus on these things. And then when you come back, here's what we're going to do next. And that's where on YouTube, I'm not afraid to like every lesson we've done with Andrew, it's not cookie cutter and paste. It's like you'll watch Andrew cold, hard heel top driver in the ZOZO. and it's like, well, nice. Thanks for doing that to show that we're not cutting this out because that just happened. And so, I'm not afraid to like show what I'm doing on, in the dojo every day on YouTube. And I think a lot of coaches are a little bit afraid of that. I think they're kind of nervous to put a student up on video and coach them and record it because there's some old mystique, I guess, that somebody has something that nobody else knows. And that's what I'm going to, that's what makes me who I am. It's like, probably not. Pretty sure I know it too. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of coaches have to get on board with is like, there's a lot of smart people that know a lot of things. It's more people are coming to see you because of who you are, and the smarter you are with it, obviously the better you can be as a coach in giving that information. But I've known a lot of really, really smart coaches that cannot communicate. I know some really, really great communicators that I would question their intelligence of the golf swing. But you're kind of seeing what you get.
Yeah, no, I agree. And talking about downfalls and ups and downs. So we started doing a new show with Marissa Massano, who's a Symetra Tour player. We're just kind of following her as her journey. She's going from stop to stop, just grinding it out, and it's been amazing to see the response that we've gotten out of it. This week she didn't really have a good week, and she showed that vulnerable side of herself. And Risky's been doing a great job producing that show, and it's just, we think we have high hopes for that, because I think that's what people need to see. Like, people think this is a glamorous life on the PGA Tour, and to be able to see what it really takes to get there. We already have a delusion in our world that you can just get in front of a computer and make millions and millions of dollars. And I think that they think that same way, like, oh, you were lucky, you got everything handed to you with a silver spoon, and it's not the case. It takes, even for those people who do have the better privilege of life, it's still a grind. You just have to just grind so much to get where you want to be.
Yeah, and I get asked that question a lot. It's like, one of the guys here that works here that shadow me, right? One of the questions he asked me is like, so what's next for you? It's like, do you want to work with like tour players and stuff like that? And I was like, look, I'm here to tell you, I got 2 young boys and a third one coming in March. I said, the odds of me going on tour for 26 weeks a year or plus to like follow tour players as coach is 0. Like, if a tour player wants me to work with, and it's kind of ironic, there's like 3 that live off the 18th green that are mini tour guys right now. But it's like, if they want to like, take a lesson from me, they can come see me in Murfreesboro. Right. Or I'll meet them somewhere here in town. But I said, I'm not going on the road for 5 weeks with them. Right. And that's just not,
that's insane.
Not how it's different life. That's not what's happened.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And so for me as a coach, then like the follow-up question is always like, well, then what's next? And like, for me, it's like, if you think about trying to coach a tour player, right? Because most of us coaches, we all had the aspiration at one point in our life to play. And that was hard enough to the point where we decided, well, we're not good enough to do this for a living, hitting the golf ball around. So we're going to teach people how to hit the golf ball around. Think about how many tour players visit one coach. So if you thought it was hard to be on the tour, how much harder is it to be a tour coach when one tour coach could coach 15 dudes, 10 dudes, right? So the odds of you getting on the tour as a coach is even slimmer, honestly, in my opinion. So for me, the next step is for my career personally is and it's where I think I can excel more anyways, is I want to be able to coach coaches how to coach. I want to bring other coaches into the fold and what I do. So I'm like, here's how I built my book. Here's the people that I learned from. And I send this to the kid that works in the shop. Like, every time I see somebody that I follow that I think is really smart, I'm sending that video to that kid in Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. I'm like, watch this. This is important, and like, I want to be able to shadow other coaches or show other coaches, here's the deal. Like, and kind of have that, I don't know necessarily the McLean Ledbetter model is a great kind of pull from, because those are very unique instances, but just be able to have other coaches around me to influence and say, all right, you built up your little career, go on, it's time to do your own thing, kind of shoo them out the door. That's where I see myself going. That's why, again, the bigger reason I left Legends was to come here, because I think I can do that here at Indian Hills.
Man, that's very, very cool stuff. So,
that's awesome.
We're going to take a break. After the break, we're going to dive into PGA Tour, talk about Kokrak.
Oh, yeah.
Out of nowhere.
All right.
I missed him by a week. We'll be back.
Meet Matt, an avid golfer who just got a receipt from a golf course and is ready to experience the unique benefits of golfcritique.com. He pulls out his receipt, scans the code, visits the course page to review, creates an account, enters information, and is deciding on membership of his choice. You can join golfcritique.com as a free member to book on partner courses, lessons with incredible instructors, and your next buddies trip at great resorts around the world without any booking fees. Upgrade to a premium membership and receive access to all perks worldwide from our esteemed partners. Review a partner and get $5 off your next visit. Not only that, enjoy member experiences with brand ambassadors, exclusive tournament offers, special incentives from our title sponsors, and awesome giveaways. GolfCritique.com gives more back to the golfer and to the partner than any other platform in golf, making sure you have the best experience every visit. Check out our blogs, videos, and podcasts on Golf Hub. All golf, all the time. So what are you waiting for? Matt has already chosen the premium membership, and now you can do the same by creating a golfer account at GolfCritique.com today. GolfCritique.com, the best search engine in golf.
All right, Golf Nation, we are back, and man, Risky, CJ Cup did not disappoint.
It did not.
It's some of my picks though disappointed.
Yeah.
Matt Wolf, what the hell?
Yeah, that was pretty shocking, actually.
You know what? You know what happened?
What?
Vegas. That's what happened. That's the only thing I can determine why Matt Wolf did not do good, because he's been playing so good, and it's like Vegas.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like The Hangover in
Just had
in
an
Bangkok.
off week.
Bangkok got him.
Oh,
Vegas got him.
Right, definitely.
Well, I think Speed said it the best, right? He said he had to go play a practice round at Shadow Creek because every time he's been out there is for the same reason, right? He can't remember the golf course.
I know. Man, I saw an Instagram page that they had some really crazy quotes from PGA Tour players. And one of them was like Jordan talking about porn, and I was like, "Are these real?"
Yeah.
No, those are all fake. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dying. I was like, "How in the world are they allowing them to put these on?" I'm sure the PGA Tour is dying. Oh.
I share those with folks that I know like don't pay attention enough, and they're like, "Did he really say that?" I was like, "No."
Oh my gosh.
There's 0% chance he said that.
I know. That's what I was like.
Yeah.
I can't even I don't even know how they put their face to that quote. And I don't know. Freedom of speech, I guess. Lord have mercy. Well, it was a really crazy week. Of course, I have the worst luck. I always pick the week before for the people who win the next week.
Mm-hmm.
I had Kokrak in the lineup the week before.
Yep.
He did okay, and then he goes out and wins. But bogey free 8 under.
That's a great final round right there.
You don't see that very often, do you, Matt?
Solid.
Not on Sundays.
No,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I said not on a Sunday. No, that doesn't happen.
But
That's good.
Seriously.
Risky, he's a Vegas guy. Like, he's got some connections to Vegas, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, we find out afterwards that he's a MGM brand ambassador, and he's played that course
A bazillion
many of times. Yeah, so he's like, well, it's only to be expected. I should have won there because I play there so much. I know it so well. Like, that little bit of information probably would have made
research.
some people
We
a
got
lot
to
of
work.
money.
We got to do better on our research, Risky.
Yeah,
Because you don't want to see our picks
Fact-checking
this week.
is behind schedule.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I got to look at all brand ambassadors, every business deal with every tour player.
Oh my gosh, so crazy.
Yeah, I tell you that's what's nuts when the Taylor or Nike got out of the golf club game and started buying up people on TaylorMade staff for like their Nike stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize. I mean, I never really paid attention to it. Nike doesn't let you have any other brands on their stuff, right? So if you're a Nike golf guy, like apparel, Tiger is like the only one with his own logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when Jason Day switched over, I didn't realize this. They had to buy out his Lexus and NetJets contract to put him on the Nike
Yeah,
apparel
because
stuff.
it's an all one brand. You can't do anything else.
Like
But
that's a serious buy-in to an individual right there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, wow.
I don't think that's probably worked out too well. Day's not been his top. I think it's medical. I think he's got some.
Well, he had the issues with his mom's health for a little bit there. 17, I think, maybe 18. It was like his mom's health was really bad. I think that kind of like stemmed some of that stuff. And then, he got injured with his wrist and his back a little bit too. But he was also making, so sidebar again, I'm fortunate to know some people, they made a stance width change to him where they're trying to like widen his stance with his driver and ended up wrecking his back because he ended up sliding too much in the downswing, and that kind of put too much strain into his lower back.
That's interesting.
Part of the problem.
I would not have thought a slide would have been the result of a wider stance in the driver.
It allows you to create more lateral force So
Interesting.
you can drive harder side. Like if you think about it, if your feet are underneath your pelvis, you're not going to be able to slide really hard left to right.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be able to rotate pretty good, but you're not going to be able to slide left to right. But if you get a wide base, you can push really hard off your right to your left. That's why if you look at like running backs, right, where does that right leg go? It goes out, so the lower part of your leg angles in up through your femur, so you can drive that force left.
Interesting. I guess I forgot the turn part of it. Mine's just a slide.
Just a slide.
As my back is determined from, but actually I've been much better now. My back's not killing me near as much, so which is good. So some big news this week. DJ, COVID.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I know.
No.
Literally like an hour after we finished recording last week's episode, I see that he withdraws.
Yeah, so that's not good. We're still seeing a little bit of COVID kind of rear its ugly head. So hopefully we get this thing under control. I heard some good news that maybe February we'd start to see some vaccines coming through. So, but let me say, I'm not going to be the first to take that. You're not putting COVID in my body because that's how a vaccine works. You got to put in the COVID to get the antibodies and blah blah blah. No, I will pass.
What
on
were you
that.
saying about quotes and pictures? You can put that one right next to it. You ain't putting COVID in my body.
Yeah, I ain't putting COVID in my body. Well, congrats to Cocrack. 233 tournaments.
And he finally gets it done.
And he's a legend actually down here in the Pinehurst area. So 18th green or 18th hole at Southern Pines is about 360, a little uphill. And there's big tall pines to the left. It's kind of like a wraparound dog leg to the left. It's not really a dog leg. It's just a slightly moving right to left hole. And what's he do? He puts that thing high and just cuts that corner and it's on the green.
Oh my gosh.
I mean 360. I mean it's probably playing 320 probably with the cut, but still 320 cut over 50-foot trees that are probably another 10 feet above you.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So Cocrack can bomb it with the best of them.
Yeah.
He is definitely good.
He's got a lot of talent, but what we were just saying there about how it's not a glamorous lifestyle, 233 events without a win.
Isn't that crazy?
Ain't many football coaches are going to have a career that long.
Oh, not at all.
That is, and thank God that the money's better. I mean, he came in at the right time with Tiger and everybody. So, Tiger helped that. I mean, I would think in the past, that guy would probably be on a mini tour right now because he just wouldn't have the money to survive. You'd just not survive. And then you'd lose you just wouldn't play as well because you were struggling financially. And, that's what people got to realize. There's a lot more than just playing golf that goes into being a tour pro.
Oh, definitely.
I heard a statistic, the minimum, just bare minimum on a tour pro every year is $200 grand just to get from tournament to tournament, expenses. That's break even. You got to make $200 grand on the tour just to break even on the PGA Tour right now.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think I read an article like that too. I think that was in that ballpark. I think it's really easy to go to $500,000 too if you're not careful. But I think the stat I heard was like, for a tour player, 80% of their money is going to come from 10% of the events that it's going to come from 10% of their earnings, right? So like, if they finish really high up, that one top 10 is probably going to make up like the chunk of their tournament earnings.
Well, that's why the majors are so important now because they're like just one winner and then I'm going to get all these endorsements and things change when you win a major. Yeah. Endorsements are the major thing of winning a major. So it'll be interesting. And man, it's so exciting. Masters are coming up. Yep. Oh, I'm so pumped about that. I'm an Augusta guy, baby. Love me some Augusta.
Oh yeah.
I was already calling my buddy who's the superintendent at Augusta, and I was like, dude, I think you need somebody on the. I'm willing to volunteer. I'll come volunteer. We'll do some setup. So
I
just never thought in my lifetime I would be able to watch two Masters back to back, like as far as majors go. Right? I mean, it's always every April. Now I get to watch one in November.
I know.
And in April.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm like, can we have a fall and spring Masters? Like, can we put it?
Hey, this may be a new trend.
Yeah.
New trend. Augusta's like, oh man, we got awesome. A really good ratings here. We're gonna double up now.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, pretty incredible week of rounds. I mean, Shoffley played really well. Taylor Gooch played really well. Morikawa, great to see him coming back this week. He's been he's been a little off his game here. Henley came out of nowhere, but I was surprised Xander didn't win. I really was. I didn't think that Kokrak, but it's hard to beat a guy that's shooting 8 under. I don't know what Xander shot, but they were going back and forth for a while on Sunday.
Yeah, they were.
He shot 6 under. He was too bad.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Sunday rounds are 8 under and 6 under now.
Yeah, Terrell Hatton was right up in there too for a while.
I tell kids that all the time, and one of my kids just lived that. We just had our state tournaments the last couple of weeks, depending on what school zone you were, right? So one of my boys peaked perfectly, shot 9 under in the state tournament, and literally
as a high schooler,
pick a year. Yeah, 2 days
in one round.
No, 2 days. 2 days.
Oh,
9 under for 2 days.
Still,
so I think he went.
Yeah,
he went 4 under, 5 under, right? You could pick a year behind this year, and he'd win state. 2 kids beat him. 13 under was the winning score. 11 under was second place.
Isn't
I
that
told him, I said, "Hey
insane?
man, like you golfed your ball. Ain't nobody gonna take it away from you. You golfed your ball at 9 under. You just can't help a guy that's on a freight train is gonna shoot 13.
9 under and gets beat by 4 as a high schooler.
Yeah, that's insane.
As a high schooler,
that's crazy.
it's just insane.
Good for
I'm
him.
telling you, 59s are gonna if they don't do
That's
something
awesome.
with it, they're gonna have to do something with the golf courses. They're gonna have to bring this in. There's just there's no way around it. Nothing that they're gonna do with equipment is gonna change. In my opinion, they're gonna have to tighten up.
And
the
here's
golf
part of
courses.
it is you have guys like me who have like a TrackMan and force plates. Like we're optimizing kids by the time they're like 15 to the point where golf swings are pretty sound, and now it's like performance practice. And it's like, and we were already doing that well before that too, but it's just like they kind of hit that last growth spurt, nothing really major is changing, and now it's just purely like off to the races. And then they get into college, like when I was at Legends, the guys at Vanderbilt, like Scott and Greg, the men's and women's coach over there, those 2 guys are stud college coaches, let me tell you. And I was watching their players every day practice. I'm like, this next level is going to be ridiculous.
I know. I mean, just look at all the young guns coming out on tour. I mean, I think there's a lot of coaches from the last 5 years that say, "Oh, you guys haven't seen nothing yet." These juniors coming out now the scores are just unbelievable. I mean, we're just better.
Well,
we just got better instruction out there. I mean, people are more willing to get their kids into instruction a lot earlier.
When I first showed up to Legends, they had Mateus Schwab, Will Gordon, John Augustine, and Theo Humphrey were all there at the same time. And if you weren't shooting 62, you weren't qualifying.
So sick.
Goodness gracious.
Risky. Your 100's just not going to cut it, buddy.
Yeah, that's not clearly.
Trust me, my 80 is not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Trust me. I used to think that I was a good player, and then I played with somebody who shot 64 or shot 62 on me, and I was going, okay, now I think I'm okay. I'm just not willing to put in the
Risky,
time.
you could just quit after 12 and you have a chance.
Yeah. I'm just 9. Probably be even better.
Oh my goodness. Well, Risky, where are we going to this week on the PGA Tour?
We're going to Thousand Oaks, California for the
Very
ZOZO
cool.
Championship at Sherwood Country Club. Another Asian tournament that it's actually in Japan that's coming to the United States for 1 year because of COVID. And
Oh, yes, because that's what CJ Cup was. They were in South Korea last year.
Exactly.
And they had to come to the States because of COVID. And now we're doing ZOZO here. Okay.
So, yeah, defending champ Tiger Woods.
Tyga, and he loves him some Sherwood. Do you think he had a little bit to do with that relocation?
Probably.
Yes, he did. Let me just say, I think he grew up on Sherwood Country Club.
Yeah. Actually, interesting. So did Matt Wolf.
Oh.
Matt Wolf went to high
Guess who
school
we're picking
7
this
miles away from Sherwood, being from Thousand Oaks
Now,
himself.
see, that's some good research. That's what you got to be
See?
doing.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
I
That's
do
it.
most
It's
of it.
about
but
time, Risky.
that John Kokrak, MGM ambassador. Sorry.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah, so that'll be
And that'd be
interesting. I'm sure
Jason
he's
Kokrak.
played.
Get it right.
Gosh. Yeah,
Get
did
it
I
right.
just... Oh, we won't bring up your mishap from last
that's
week. But, yeah, I mean, another 7,000 yards, par 72, Jack Nicklaus design.
Yeah, but that's short. It's 7,000. It's been 7,500, 7,800, 7,200. Now, this might actually bring a lot more. Tiger's going to have a chance here. Tiger's just not they talk about how far he's hitting, but you can see on the longer course he doesn't do very well. But yeah, I think he's going to have actually a chance. He might be right up there in the top 20. I don't think he's going to win, but he'll definitely be in the top 20. These young guns, you can't beat him anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tiger, he has such an extensive history with that course too. Mm-hmm. That's where it was the location of his Hero World Challenge from 2000 to 2013, I believe, or 2016, somewhere in there. But yeah, and also Greg Norman's Shark Shootout was held there, so very popular.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a Jack Nicklaus design. A lot of the tour pros love Jack Nicklaus designs. Big greens, lots of slopes, big bunkers, very inviting, right to left. Good thing Dustin Johnson's not playing this week. He hates right to left golf courses. He never plays good on right to left. No, he's not. There's no way he's over COVID yet. He's on a 10-day quarantine. We're going to call BS on that one.
I mean, he was in the field.
Well, he may have planned on being in the field, but he ain't in the field now.
Right.
I'm going to say no, he's not going to play. So we'll see. Gretzky is a member there, though, so he probably does know that golf course.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Xander from San Diego, local kid. He's going to be a great pick this week. Mm-hmm. JT, Justin Thomas, always a great pick. John Rahm playing, Matt, John Rahm has been playing lights out this year. He's
a stud.
Oh, he is a stud. I love his swing. It's so compact. There's not very many moving parts. That is, I think a lot of people would get a lot of benefit from a swing like his.
Yeah, no doubt. Rahm's move is a very effective and efficient move.
And it's got a lot of power.
Yeah.
For a short swing. It's got a lot of power.
He got them big old tree trunk legs is what he's got.
Oh yeah.
He is husky. That is for sure. That is for sure. Scotty's back. Yeah. He's been back. He's another COVID guy that had to miss the U.S. Open. Colin played for UCLA, maybe? I can't remember. I think he played for a Southern California school. It might be USC or UCLA. I can't remember. So Terrell Hatton's been playing really well. He's probably not going to be as much jet lag as he had this year. I bet that jet lag just got the best of him after the first round. He was on a high. All of his adrenaline was going on. Did you hear about that, Matt? He basically flies in from the BMW and basically goes pretty much right to the tee.
That's insane.
Dude, there's been plenty of stories of especially US Open kind of stuff like that where, last minute call, hey, you're up. Can you make it? And you're like, what's the last flight out of Nashville? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And then Patrick Reed, the bad boy of golf. It's so funny. I heard an announcer on tour one time. He was like, yeah, Captain America. Oh, no, that's what he used to be called. He's not called that anymore. He's not. I'm like, wow. That is a rep that has been destroyed.
Yeah.
He has literally become the bad boy of golf.
Yeah.
I just don't get how he just keeps on doing his thing where he's even at the US Open, you could see him tapping down. He had that first cut and then the primary cut of rough. He was backed up against. You can see him just tapping his wedge down behind it.
I know.
And you're like, dude, you are why? Why are you always pushing the envelope?
It doesn't make sense.
Play the game right.
Unless he's doing bad press is good press. That's the only thing I can think.
That's not going to help your golf game.
Yeah, but it's getting. Think about when he did that. When he did the brush the sand behind, we heard his name everywhere, everywhere, and sometimes it's like the old. I'm going to throw out a video that shouldn't be out there. Oh, how did that get out? Really? Probably out of your inbox, I would say.
Yeah.
But
I just think the only thing that's tough for him though is that it's not bringing him any kind of real endorsements. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, exactly.
That is true.
It's that's not quite like a Kim Kardashian video slipping out to the internet. He's got a different struggle with brands. I think. Look how fast people drop Tiger. Back when that whole thing fell. Yeah. You know what I mean?
The most well-known athlete in the world, and they dropped him like a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Patrick Reed, I think he just, he's got a history that stems back past college that.
Oh yeah.
I think he just can't. He can't help himself, and
he's
in my opinion, I think it's funny. When somebody roots for Reed, I was like, I kind of look at him like, you're telling me something when you're telling me you like Reed, and I don't know if you want me to know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
no doubt. To me, still the most surprising player of the year, Adam Scott. Adam Scott is still ranked in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
He's a journeyman at this point in his career. I mean, he's been around for a long time. I can't remember what year he came out, but I mean, he's been on tour for a long time, and he's still just unbelievably good and consistent, which is really great to see because he's probably one of the best demeanors on tour, in my opinion. One of the good guys.
Yeah, he wasn't far behind Tiger. He was only a few years behind Tiger in his debuts. I don't know if he's quite like a Justin Rose, era type, but I think he's somewhere around that window.
Yeah, and he was young, coming out of Australia. Good, just such a great player. So, well, I think this week, who are we gonna pick this week? I think we gotta go back with Wolf, even though he shot 8 over in the first round last week. Holy cow! Let's hope he knows this golf course a little bit better.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was all downhill from there. I was like, oh god, this is not gonna be good.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I like Matt Wolf. I'm stick with him.
Matt, who are you gonna go with this week?
Well, I mean, guys, you've laid out a strong argument for Wolf. I'm gonna tell you. I mean, but look, I'll say we tried to pick the winners after 2 days when I was on Virgil's show, and I wasn't batting a very good batting average on the Saturday, Sunday left. So you don't want to know my pick. I'm probably wrong. So I'll just stick with you guys picking Wolf.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we're gonna probably see Wolf, Xander, Rahm. I think will be up there. Terrell's been playing good in the first 2 rounds, but he's not. I don't think he's really been coming through, but. He's winning overseas, so I think we'll go maybe even Morikawa. Morikawa will be up there as well. So a couple of good picks out there.
It's gonna be interesting.
Well, Risky.
Yeah.
We got to call it a day.
Yeah, we do.
Matt was
I can hear your stomach grumbling from over here.
Shout out to if you ever come to the Pinehurst area, we're gonna give a shout out to our boys.
Yeah, let's do it.
Our shout out to Wedgies. If you've never been to Wedgies here in Pinehurst, you are missing out.
It's amazing.
It is a local place. They have pizza bread as the bread to a sandwich.
Yeah, it's like a wedge of pie.
It's like a wedge of pie.
Not a pizza pie, but a literal like a wedge of pie.
It is
in sandwich
phenomenal.
form. It's great.
And it's literally in a gas station.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that some of the best food I've ever had has come from gas stations.
Oh my gosh. And now it's separate. I mean, we won't say it's in the gas station, but it's in the same building as the gas station, but it's separate. But big shout out to Wedgies.
Yeah.
And Risky, I gotta clarify on that one though, with the gas station food.
Go ahead.
Is that pre-midnight or post-midnight?
No, any time of the day.
Post-midnight for sure.
Any time
we don't even
want
to go to those stories.
No, I used to work at a marina a long time ago, and every morning I would be there at the gas station getting bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. I'd go back for lunch, barbecue sandwich. Amazing. That one's back towards my house.
Funny story on that. Small towns are all around me, right? So my wife's from a small one, so we drive by and there's this like podunk gas station called Dutton's. And I mean, like you drive by it and you're like, I'm probably not going to stop there, even though I need gas. I'm going to try and make it to the next town.
Right.
So my wife's cousin and I are pretty close. We hunt a lot together and stuff. And he's like, oh, man, 'cause we're about to have a house not far from there. We're about to start building a house. And he goes, oh man, let me tell you, that place has the best bologna and cheese sandwich. Oh man, hot ham bologna. I'm like, Nathan, let me go ahead and tell you who's not getting a bologna and cheese sandwich from the gas station.
Well, first of all, how hard is it to mess up a bologna and cheese sandwich? It's all in the meat.
I guess so. Yeah.
All in the meat.
Probably shouldn't. All right, Golf Nation. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Make sure you watch the show on Golf Hub. If you're not doing that already, you definitely should be. You can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram as @GolfNationPodcast, and on Facebook as @GolfNationPod. If you have any comments, suggestions, or questions for Jeremy or myself, send us a DM on Instagram or send us an email to golfhub@golfcritique.com, and it'll go straight to me. That's all I got for him, Jay.
All right. Well, Matt, we want to give you a chance to give a shout out as well. We want to make sure that everybody knows how to get in touch with you. You're a phenomenal teacher right in the middle of the country. You do some online lessons, great videos, and let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. They can find me on your website, right? Golf Critique. I'm on there. Also, you can find me on social media at Matt Walter PGA is my Instagram handle. YouTube's Matt Walter Golf Academy. And then if you need to hit me up, if you want to send me an email, it's just mattwaltergolf@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We ran a little bit long today, but well worth it. We'll be back next week with another great episode of Golf Nation Podcast. But until then, learn as much as you can, live your life to the fullest, play golf forever. For Matt, for Risky, I'm Jeremy Lee. This is Golf Nation Podcast. See you on the sea.